It's time for us to start. I would like to welcome everyone and thank all who made this event possible. From our local club, those of you who helped, thank you. The City of Hinton, Mayor Joe Manchin and all the people in his office who helped. And from Senator Manchin's office, Mara and Brian back there and any other people who got him here to us on time. The Senator, as far as our procedure here this afternoon, the Senator will speak for a few minutes and then field questions from the group. And I want to encourage everyone to remember the rules of decorum. Speakers are asked to state the question clearly, and you will have a microphone. Make your points and listen to the Senator explain. Follow-up questions on that issue are allowed. If you have more than one question, let's wait until others have had their opportunity as well. Keep the questions to valid issues and not personal attacks on anyone. Before we go any further, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, before I turn the meeting over to Senator Manchin and his staff, I have a couple of issues I want to serve as an introduction. As we muddle through this administration, and that muddling is just what I feel Democratic leadership nationwide has been doing for several years. I've watched them for years stand by like they're waiting. Waiting for what? For example, how is losing an election by a few percentage points in Kansas a win? And yes, I read the rationale, but why was there not a more concerted effort at the last minute to match the last minute Republican effort? That Democrat might have won. And where is the Democratic plan for fixes to the Affordable Care Act? The public likes the ACA, as polling shows, but everyone agrees it needs some fixing. Where's the plan to play to the popularity of the people who like their insurance and offer the fixes that moderate Republicans might buy into? Or are we going to wait until the Republicans bundle together a plan that they will all vote for, and we know it will win, that decimates the American people? Those are just two examples. We cannot sit by just watching this administration implode, as more likely as that seems every day. We need to be leading, not following or waiting. A headline yesterday addresses those issues as the plan for 2018. My message for you, Senator, to take to Washington for the whole crew up there is why wait? Let's start now making our ideas heard from leadership as well as the ever-growing grassroots resistance that has proved to be working. And with that, the good people of Southern West Virginia have some voices they would like heard. Ladies and gentlemen, before Senator Manchin speaks, I'm going to have him to autograph this sign, which is for the Three Rivers Democratic Women's Headquarters. stage and probably raise this microphone about a foot. And remember, mind your manners.
Jane didn't leave me with much to say. If I can improve on these. Well, let me just say, first of all, I thank Jane, the Three Rivers Democratic Women for organizing the event, and to all those responsible, and for coming here. I'll try to keep it as close as I can. To all our city and county officials, Mayor, let me say that unbelievable job. This is a tremendous investment for the people of Summers County, especially the people of Hinton. You all have foresight in what you're doing. I appreciate it, and all your council members for having the wisdom to vote for it. I'm sure that there's always some criticism when you do it, but everybody likes the finished product, and I can tell this is going to be some accomplishment here. To all the officials, I think we have some of our officials here. I would like for any of our officials, elected officials, to stand, announce who you are and what position you hold so people can recognize you. Any of our officials, please stand and rise. Joe, go ahead and start, Joe.
Joe Manchin, Mayor. Pat Jordan, City Council.
Roberta Sorg, City Council. Debbie Clark, Board of Education, Vice President. Harry Hefner, County Clerk.
Jack Woodard, Summers County Commission.
Anybody else? Kenny Mann, State Senator Kenny Mann wanted to be here. He had to attend another function. I just saw him earlier, so he wanted me to say hi. Senator Swope, Senator Miller, all good friends and all the people that represent you very well. I want to say thank you to them. We're going to talk about a lot of things. I'm not going to take a lot of time right now because we're going to go into detail. You ask any question, let me just tell you why these are so important. And I wish that all my colleagues would do the same. It gives me a complete understanding of where we are, how we got to where we are, and how we can get out of it. You all have a lot of good common sense. You have a lot of suggestions we should be taking back. Everything I do here, I go back to Washington. I explain to them what I heard as I'm going around, people that are upset. We live in a troubled world and a divided country. And I can explain to you the best that I can advise and see it right now. Our country basically used to always be maybe 20% on the fringes. You had 20% on the far left, which some people would call the liberal, or some people today call the real progressive. But you had 20% over here, and you had 20% on the far right. Some people call the far right the Tea Party or the Freedom Caucus. So we have 20 and 20 and 60 in the middle. It's coming and going, isn't it?
Senator, the connection with the microphone, you push in on that.
I'll hold it up there, okay. Does that help better? Yes. Okay, I'll hold it that way. And then we had 60% of those elected in the middle, pretty much common sense, rational. It really didn't matter whether you were a Democrat or Republican. If it made sense, they do it. Okay, everybody could sit down and come to a compromise and work through it. Today we have about 40% on the far left, 40% have moved to the far right, and about 20% left. 20% can't get the job done like it used to. That's the best way I can give you my evaluation of where I sit and what I'm watching happen. These are all very good people. They're all there for the right reason. Politics have gotten so toxic, so much money is coming into politics that it basically has scared people. I asked one of the old senators, I said, tell me if there's a special Senate club I don't know about. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, some of the crazy votes I see you all taking makes me believe there's something special that you want to stay here for a certain reason. Because I don't know about it. If I can go home and explain it, I can vote for it. I know a lot of you might not agree on some of the votes I've made, but that's what I'm here to do. Explain how I had a thought process to come to the conclusion of why I voted for certain things or why I didn't vote for certain things. I've made many mistakes. I've never made a mistake intentionally trying to hurt West Virginia or any West Virginians. Never would. And if I do make a mistake, I can go back and fix that. But I can't fix it unless I hear from you all, and then I can tell you where my thought process and where I come from. Here's the committees I serve on. I've served on armed services for 6 years. So I really learned a lot about the world powers, the world troubles that we have. I have now switched over to intelligence. That's taken me to a level that's sometimes keeps you up at night, knowing of all the things that's happening in the world the people that would like to do us harm, the people that are doing things that shouldn't be doing it, and what we have to do to protect it. Our job as elected officials, when I was a governor, it was much different because I was then in charge. I was, the buck stopped with me. You come to me with a problem, I should be able to help fix it. If I couldn't, I should give you a good explanation why not, and basically we would continue to work together. I'm now a facilitator. I have Mara, Jessica's with me here, Mara, who else, where's Ryan?
Brian's in the back.
Brian, okay. They're with us here. We're going to be anything we can do to help you. We have caseworkers. Our job is to make sure if you're having problems with any of your services from the federal government, you contact the office. We work, most of our casework is done with Social Security and veterans because of our demographics and our population base. We have an awful lot of veterans that have served, and we have a lot of us that are growing just a little bit older. We're still pretty spunky, but we're still a little bit older. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we're getting all the assistance we need. We're going to do that for you, and that's their job. Every day we're trying to help people. So we're going to talk about anything and everything, okay? We can start out the Affordable Care Act. Only thing I have said, you cannot repeal this. Whether you like it or not, you can't repeal it. Let me tell you why not. For all my Republican friends, I've said this. Listen, we understand the toxic atmosphere we live in. And it takes, you can go ahead under the budget reconciliation. These are the rules of the Senate. Our Republican friends could go ahead and get rid of it with just 51 votes. But it takes 60 votes to repair it and fix it. We don't have 60 votes. We don't have enough Democrats and Republicans that'll work together or come together because we haven't worked enough together to come to an agreement. So the bottom line is we have 20 million people that have never had health care. 20 million for the first time. And now you're going to say, well, I'm going to repeal it. That means you're going to take something away. We got people that have the expansion. We have people that have basically the subsidies. We've got people now getting mental help they never got before. We got people getting assistance for addiction they never got before. We've got seniors filling the donut hole they never got before. We've got pre-existing conditions you couldn't buy it. Now they can't deny it. We've got 26-year-olds that could stay on and they don't. So we have a lot of things that Republicans, Democrats agree on. So why would they want to give $575 billion credit to the wealthiest people in America? $575 billion. Why would they want to take away $880 billion from Medicaid, the poorest of the poor? Now, okay, you can say, well, we got to hold people responsible and accountable. I agree. My little town's Farmington, West Virginia. I grew up with 400 or 500 people. Okay, so everybody had to hustle. Everybody had to work. No one. I tell you one thing: in the little town of Farmington, when I grew up, if you were a slacker, or you were a loafer, and you were a goofer off and want to sell them on the street corner, they'd run you out of town. They would run you out of town. But now, if you got in trouble and you got hurt or your husband got killed in the mine, that town would rally around you and take care of you and your kids. I never seen anything like it. So I'm a product of my environment. You're a product of your environment. So I said, Democrats and Republicans, I think, all want to help people. I know the Democrats, our philosophy is we help anybody that we possibly can, but the West Virginia Democrat says, fine, I want you to help yourself too. I'm going to take care of those who can't take care of themselves, but I'm not going to carry on generational welfare if you can get off of it and do something. So we're a little bit different than Washington. I've tried to explain that. We think differently. Affordable Care Act, we can fix it. It's the private market's messed up. If you're out in the private market, you're paying basically high deductibles, you're paying basically high premiums, and you're almost like having no insurance after you've spent 10, 12, 15,000 before you get anything. It's ridiculous. We can fix that. But there's certain people in Washington don't want to fix anything. Jane said one thing. She says, can't you at least put a plan? Democrats put a plan out. Well, the Democrats put a plan out. So the Republican says repeal it. Can't you at least, Republicans, tell us something compassionately that we could work together on if you want to fix it?
Show them some things.
To repair it. So I have said exactly what you've said, Jane. Let's show them what can be fixed. Some Democrats in Washington are afraid, oh no, then we take ownership. I said, someone better step to the plate and be a leader. You better take owner of something. So I'm fighting the same thing she just mentioned. It was so unbelievable to hear her talk about that. Because I've said, why don't we drop the gauntlet and show them exactly what we would accept and see if they'll sit down and talk to us. And I think that's what has to be done. But we'll talk about health care, anything you want to. talk about the opiate addiction that we've got. We'll talk about the serious problems we have around the world, Syria. We'll talk about any of the people I voted for or against, why, and how I came to the decision. With that being said, we're going to open it up and get started. How about that? Okay? So, I guess what we're going to do, how are we going to do this? We have a mic right here. Jessica's going to come back. You raise your hand, stand up, right back there, the lady in the blue right there, Jessica. Sure, and you just ask the question, everybody can hear you.
Senator Manchin, I'd like to thank you for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time to come visit us. I know you touched on the Affordable Care Act. I'd like you to ask everyone in this room how many of them have a pre-existing condition and how that can ever be taken, their coverage for that can ever be taken away.
Raise your hand, and if you have a pre-existing condition and you would have lost or been unable to buy insurance. Okay, that message ought to be sent loud and clear to our friends. Thank you. Let me say one thing before I go any further. There has been the most persistent, and I'm not saying that because Jane's sitting here, but the most persistent group, the Three Rivers Democratic Women Organization, who has asked for our first, they've been pushing and pursuing, asking for these town halls to get started. And I'm sorry they've taken so long, but we've done about 5 or 6 so far. We're going to do them whenever we can when I come in. But I want to thank you all and the persistence you all have had. This is exactly what America is about in its democracy in its finest fashion. Who's the second one? Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, she wants to ask questions. Here we go. Stand up. Yes, sir. Whoever wants, stand up.
Yes, my question is about the opioid epidemic, and my understanding is that you sponsored a bill, I think it was Senate Bill 3977, where you were proposing to tax opioids. And personally, I agree with that, and I was just wondering where that
What happened to it?
Yeah.
What he's talking about, first of all, is opiates. And let me just give you, if I can, take just a few minutes to tell you where we are with opiates, because it is of an epidemic proportion. If this was some kind of a disease, it would be a pandemic, which is unbelievable. And it is. It's epidemic proportion. Over 200,000 Americans have died since 1999. Over 800 died last year in West Virginia. It's the #1 killer we've got. How did it get started? Well, it got started back in the 80s when pain was one of the 5 elements of wellness. And mostly it started with the VA, our veterans coming back. And they were saying, what's your pain level? Well, it's high, I need help. Oh, well, we gotta do something with pain. Here comes a company called Purdue Pharma. Oh, we got a miracle drug called Oxycontin. 24-hour relief. No addiction whatsoever. Well, we know that now the genie's out of the bottle, okay? We've got what we've got. So we got the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, approving a product, saying it's good for you, it'll help you. We've got the DEA, who basically says how much of this product's on the market because they have a quota system. And then we have our doctors, who's the most trusted person next to a member of our family, telling us, go ahead, this will help you. And I'll just give you a prescription for 30 days or more. So before you know it, you got a toothache, we'll give you 30 days. Maybe you only need 1 or 2 days for a toothache. The prescriptions have been bad. They're putting too much stuff on the market. We're approving too much stuff to come on the market. And then let me tell you, 20 years ago, when I was in the legislature, if someone was fooling with drugs or got caught with drugs, we thought they were a criminal, put them in jail. Well, guess what? We put them in for 20 years. We haven't cleaned up or solved a human problem. Haven't fixed one. So I said, if you can't change your mind, you can't change anything. I've changed my mind. It's an illness. Addiction is an illness. Addiction is an illness that needs treatment. Treatment like any other treatment. If you have an illness, you go to a doctor or go where you can get help. We've got no treatment centers. I got people that are begging for it. Over 60,000 West Virginians could not get treatment last year. They wanted it. My cousin's a federal judge. And he says, Joe, I've got people every day. I put people in jail every day. He says, I've never one time had anybody say, oh, Judge, I'm sorry, we have no more jails to put these people in. If he says, if I hear it once, I hear it 10 times a day. I'm sorry, Joe, Judge, we have no more treatment centers for them. Can't put them anywhere. So I said, just with the question you asked, I said, how do we fund? Everything's funding, right? Don't have enough money for this, not money for that. The state doesn't have it, the federal doesn't have it, the county doesn't have it, the city doesn't have it. If you needed a treatment center here, where would you put it and how would you pay for it? So I said, the manufacturers of opiate should pay 1 penny per milligram, just 1 penny per milligram for every milligram of opiates they produce and sell in America. Do you know how much that would produce a year? 1.5 to 2 billion with a B. 1.5 to $2 billion a year. We would be able to put treatment centers throughout West Virginia, throughout America that was the most addicted, and we are, and start cleaning it up. My second piece of legislation, I get people that are addicted. There's not one of us in this room, you don't have to raise your hand, I'll raise mine, my family included. Not one of us in this room doesn't know somebody in our immediate or extended family or a very close friend that hasn't had a drug problem, either prescriptions or illicit. We're all affected, but we're afraid to talk about it. Guess what happens? When they get addicted, we're trying to cure it, keep it quiet. We don't say anything. We don't even talk about it. We're embarrassed, right? So we try to keep, I don't want so-and-so to know my sister's addicted, or my son, or my brother, or whoever, or my mother, or whatever. So we try to take care of it. Guess what? Then they start stealing from us. They've got to steal from us to support their habit. So I'll steal from my mom and dad, I'll steal from my friend, to my family. Then they start stealing from the family friends. Then they start stealing from anywhere they can. And guess what? They get caught and get convicted. Now we have a person that's addicted and has a conviction record, and you can't get them back into the workforce. They're done. If they go back at minimum wage jobs. So I said another bill I have is called Last Chance. You know what it does? It says if you go and we have a treatment center and you get cleaned up, it takes 1 year, minimum of a year to really get clean. And then you have to go and be a mentor for another year. That's 2 years commitment. You should be able at that time to go with the sponsors who know that you've completed the program, your arresting officer, and the sentencing judge. Go before them and petition them to see if you can get your record expunged. You should get one last chance to get back into society if you've cleaned yourself up. Now, if you've committed a violent crime or a sexual crime, forget it, you're out of here. If you're out there dealing dope, you're out of here. But if you've been addicted and you got caught through addictions, and most of them get caught from an illness and get hooked on these drugs, we've got to be compassionate as a society. Do you know in West Virginia, it's the first time we've fallen below 50% workforce? You talk about all the people of working age in West Virginia, less than 50% are working. First time in mine and your lifetime that's ever happened. I can't believe it. We've always been the greatest workers. People always say, oh, hire West Virginia. And we are the best. There's just not enough of us. So you want to know what's wrong and challenging with the economy? They keep saying there's no jobs. I'm sorry. There's not enough workers for the jobs we still have that'll work. That's really the problem in a nutshell. We can do a lot more and get better jobs here, but I've got to have a clean and educated workforce to do it. But that pill, that 1 penny, and let me tell you another thing if you haven't heard this statistic. We, as the United States of America, make up less than 5% of the world population. Do you know that we consume 80% of all the opiates produced in the world? Less than 5% of the population consumes 80% of all the product. How in the heck did we become so addicted? It's awful, but we got to fix it, and I'm fighting it every day. But thank you. I don't have one Republican signing up for the bill. I need just one Republican to make it bipartisan. They're scared, and I've told them, please, I'll go campaign with you. I'll support you. I'll defend you, because there is not a Republican family that's not as affected as a Democrat family. We're all affected. This is a silent killer. It don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. It'll get you, and it'll kill you. So don't look at it. You know what? We didn't hesitate to put a tax on alcohol. We didn't hesitate to put a tax on cigarettes, and I can't get 1 penny on opiates. We're trying. I'm sorry, but right here, you hold up your hand. We'll get to you. Right here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for being here. This question has to do with FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Okay, as the pipelines are coming in through West Virginia,
Right.
I know we need jobs and we need energy. My problem with FERC is that it has claimed that this gas being used in these pipelines will go to consumers in the United States, and it is a necessity that we supply energy to the people in the United States. And I agree with that. However, they are using the eminent domain section
To go through your property.
And at the same time that they're asking for permission to do this and getting it from FERC, they're also asking for export terminals and rate increases. This
I got you.
Seriously
We're
now.
going to talk about all that. You let me have it all.
Are you ready? You have addressed this question before, so it's a two-part question. The question is, you have said that you really aren't that concerned about progressive Democrats and our agenda. And I'm wondering if you have started to change your mind, because we're not going to go away, we are Democrats, and if you will be supportive of Bernie Sanders' introduction of a bill for single payer.
Let's go to all. That leads me in, this will take a little bit of an answer if you don't mind, but it leads into a lot of good discussion here. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, okay? But he's my president. Whether you think or not, I'm an American first. So you have to, I'm a West Virginian second. I'm a Democrat third. I'm an American first, okay? He's my president. Someone said, Joe, when no one thought that Donald Trump would ever win, what are you going to do if Donald Trump wins? I says, I'm going to do the same as I would if Hillary Clinton wins. I'm going to do my job. My job is to go and represent the people of West Virginia to try to help this president be the best president he or she can be. And I'll be honest broker with him. When I agree, I'll tell him and I'll support him. When I disagree, I'm going to tell him what I disagree. I don't disagree for the sake of just disagreeing because I'm a Democrat and he's a Republican. If I disagree with the affordable health care. Don't repeal it, Mr. President. Sit down with us and let's fix it. But a Democrat that I don't know doesn't think it needs to be fixed. So I'm going to work with whoever our president is. If you've sent someone here just to work on partisan, I'm probably the wrong person. And I think that's where some of my progressive friends have thought, well, I've said, you know, because they don't want me to work, some of them don't want me to work any way, shape, or form with any Republican. And that's not who I am. And I says, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to make things work. I'm going to find a pathway forward. I think it is who I am and my makeup of me as a person, where I come from. But also when I was the governor, I never let Democrats beat up Republicans. I said, come on, we're all the same. We all want to do good for West Virginia. You know, and I've never been able to get anything done if I've said, person who disagrees with me, if they've walked away thinking I've totally defeated him. I've disagreed with him and I probably had more votes to beat him in certain times, but I always give them a chance to come back with other ideas. Come on back. We're going to find something we agree on. I'm sorry, but that's who I am. So with that being said, I know that some of my friends have disagreed with that approach. So you might as well get into some of the people when President. Okay, I'm not going to move. So there's a lot of people I voted for. Now, I was an executive. When I was governor, I had to go before the state senators. And I said, I'm going to bring a cabinet together, people that I know can do certain things. You might not like them, you might not even know who they are. But if they pass three things, this is like the president's cabinet. People are upset, I voted for Jeff Sessions, or I voted for Neil Gorsuch, or whatever. Let's talk, I know. Before you go in, let me give you my reasons. I'm sorry. Let me give you my reasons. I truly believe this. You elected, whether you elected or not, if I became your governor, I had a responsibility to give you the best service I could. I had to have people I thought could work with me. I'd be held accountable for those people. So I used to ask the state senators, just give me my team. If they pass the background check, so everybody the president puts up has to go through an FBI background check, they have to go through a financial disclosure, we check all the finances, and they have to go through an ethics probe. If they pass those three things, I might not like him, might not have been the person I chose, but that's his team, or that's her team. They're going to have to answer for that team and basically the works of that team. If they don't prove to do a good job, throw them all out in 4 years. But I think that we're really obstructionists if we don't let them put their team together. I know people don't agree with that, but I'm telling you, that's how I looked at it. So for me not to vote for Betsy DeVos, which I did not. For me not to vote for Tom Price for DHHR, I did not. For me not to vote for Mick Mulvaney for OMB, I did not. Let me tell you the reasons why. Betsy DeVos, these are all good people. I did not question their character. Betsy DeVos had no experience in a public education. Without public education in America, we're dead. If you don't understand it, if you don't try to rebuild it, make it better, we're dead. That was all. I said, Mrs. DeVos, I'm sorry, this is not personal, but basically, it'd be hard for you to understand public education if you've only been in private education. I'm hoping now, I'm going to work with her, hope that she'll understand what we're dealing with. You know, you put charter schools in West Virginia, you take money away from public education. I'm dead. Let's work hard and make public education better. That's Betsy DeVos. Tom Price. Tom Price basically wrote every piece of legislation to repeal Affordable Care Act. I said, but also I thought Tom Price might have had a violation basically in his stock, buying stock and selling stock. That never rose to that level. I thought that was the problem. So at that, it didn't meet the mustard with me. The third, Mick Mulvaney, wants to privatize Social Security or Medicare. I'm not going to do it. So I said, no, okay. So the rest of them, so whether you agree or disagree, I look for every reason I can to give that executive their team. That's how that came about. And on some of these other things, we're going to talk, I'm sure you'll bring everything up, but don't be afraid, we'll talk about everything. As long as I think this, I owe you an answer of a thought process of how I got to where I got to in decisions. But trust me, Bernie Sanders on the thing. Bernie's a good man. Okay? But Bernie, and I've told Bernie this, I said, Bernie, I wish you were a Democrat. He won't register. I'm still working on him, don't you worry. I'm not giving up. Well, here's the thing. No, here's the thing. Well, Bernie and I, we can agree on the problems. Bernie basically has been very clear. The income inequality, absolutely. Income inequality, we've never had it this bad since the Great Depression. I agree 1,000%. Free education, oh, that'd be wonderful. I said, Bernie, the only problem with that, how are you going to pay for all this? The one-payer system? I said, Bernie, have you looked over at the countries and what tax rates they have? I'm willing to work, I'm willing to look at everything. I'm willing to sit down with anybody in a constructive, professional manner. But make sure we understand what we're getting into. But I know one thing, we've got to do something. And we're willing to talk. And that's great, because Bernie identifies problems. I don't agree with his answers, is basically his, but we're moving forward. And you have to bring everybody together. So you've got Bernie, and we've got Mike Lee and Ted over here, Cruz, and all of us somewhere in the middle somewhere, but we've got to work through this. Now, the single payer thing, you're talking about using Medicare as the delivery system. I understand that. We're looking at everything we possibly can. We can't even get an agreement on keeping the Affordable Care Act. We can't even get agreement on our fellow Republicans to agree on fixing the private sector without destroying the Medicaid end of it, if you will. A lot of our friends say, well, you've been too generous, you're giving too much away. Well, let me tell you how we delivered health care before. I was the governor. Every hospital came to me to use your tax dollars to give them disproportionate share. They would come to me and say, we had to give this much charity care away. You got to give me $15 million. You got to give me $10 million. I can't keep my hospital open because I'm giving all the care that people can't pay for. That's what we were dealing with. People would go to the emergency room. If you were working and didn't work for somebody that had insurance, you would end up, if you got hurt at home or on the weekend, you'd wait and crawl back into work on Monday or Tuesday and claim workers' comp. That's how we were delivering health care at the most expensive, the most expensive place possible. We did not do one thing to try to prevent people from getting ill. We didn't do a thing in this country to try to keep them from illnesses. That's the thing that we talk about. And I said, we've got to move it. You want to move to a Canadian system? Look at Canada. Canada, basically, there is a carrot and stick, if you will. They make you be responsible and accountable. Let me explain this. Think of this. 20 million people got health care that never had it in their life. Never bought it, weren't intending to buy it. They finally got health care. Guess what? I can buy a box of Cracker Jacks and get the prize inside the Cracker Jacks, and it'll tell me how to use it with some instructions. We gave 20 million people the most valuable thing you could have. Never gave them one word of instructions of how you should use it, not abuse it, be more efficient with it, be healthier, do things that you should do to live a better quality of life. We didn't require anything for it. And so when the Republicans tell me I got to give $575 billion to all my very, very wealthy people so they don't have to pay taxes for this, and I'm going to take $880 billion away, that's about, from the Medicaid, that's a $300 billion deficit, right? So don't give the money away. Don't make the cuts. You need to find $300 billion in savings. If you let us sit down and work together, we can do it in a compassionate way and not throw anybody off. That's the difference. Okay. I have a gentleman, hold on. There's a gentleman back there, and I'm sorry, I'll come up to you next. He's back there, he was up before. But I'll come right back to you. Okay?
I'll wait till you're ready.
Go ahead, I think it'll work.
All right, thank you, Senator Manchin, for everything you've done for our state and all of your variety of roles.
I've had a hard time keeping the job.
I think a lot of us can say that about our jobs. So, for those of you that don't know, I actually spoke with Senator Manchin about this privately. I grew up in a home of childhood domestic violence. I would go on to become an advocate for victims and children throughout our entire state over my entire adult life. The reason why I'm here is because the conversations regarding domestic violence and child abuse and what we can do to support victims and families have been decreasing. But there are still stories popping up on the news sites every single day of a variety of forms of abuse. I want to know, in your role now as a senator and in Washington overall, what is being done to support victims and families now, and also what is being done to help support children that I used to be, to prevent us from recycling that form of abuse. Children that grew up in these homes would go on to abuse drugs, go on to become offenders themselves. If we want any of these issues to end, it has to start with the next generation and our role in supporting them. So I'd just like to know what you're doing now and what's Washington doing to help.
First of all, we're trying to maintain the budgets. They don't make all the cuts, but that budget cut we're going to make it destroys all the issues that we have right now that people depend on. You do that and we go back to the Stone Ages and some of the services. It's no different. You know, a kid grows up in an addictive home, chances are they're going to be addicted. A kid grows up in an abusive home, chances are they're going to be abusive. You know, some of us were lucky. I said I was a privileged child. And I don't mean I grew up in Farmington between the railroad tracks and the creek. I lived in a 3-room garage apartment. My first understanding of sex education was every time my mother got pregnant, we got a new bunk bed. So I knew. I didn't grow up. I didn't think we had anything. Nobody in Farmington had anything. But the bottom line was, I had unconditional love. So if any of you all grew up with unconditional love, we're all privileged. Some of us weren't. God bless you. You've turned out, thank God, and speaking out for those who don't speak out today and keep doing what you're doing. But I can tell you, we're not going to give up. There should be no toleration of violence. There should be no tolerations of abuse, any way, shape, or form. Condemnation. We shouldn't be despairing against anybody. I don't care what your race, religion, your sexual preference. I could care less. Okay? You're an American. You're one of us. You're part of me, and I'm going to be part of you, and we're going to try to help you. But I want you to be responsible too. And thank you. And we're not going to give up, but watch the budget. That's where the cuts are coming. You watch it. I'm sorry, right up here. Yes, ma'am. And then just jump up. Just jump up next.
Well, I have 2 questions, but I will hold off to a little bit later. Hopefully we get to the second one.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So in February, I went to Monroe County to see you at that nice little restaurant, and we discussed your superdelegate vote at the DNC.
Right.
And you voted for Hillary Clinton,
Correct.
even though West Virginia overwhelmingly went for Bernie Sanders. And this is what you said. You said that you signed a commitment to Hillary Clinton early on.
I did.
And you wanted to.
But I will still say, I believed in her. I really did. More than I did.
I know, but you wanted to hold your commitment. And you also said that you felt that the superdelegate thing wasn't really a fair system. And
I think it's going to change.
Hopefully it will. But if 2020 comes around, and if you're still our Democratic senator, will you commit now to not pledge your superdelegate vote prior to West Virginia primary, and then pledge to the candidate that West Virginia chooses?
That would be absolutely something that should be done. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Here's the thing. I think we're going to change the whole system. You're saying the system doesn't change, it stays the same.
I think it's going to change somewhat, but I think we're going to keep some.
Well, here's the thing. I can't make the commitment that I can make a commitment that I would not commit until we see the primary. The difference where you have to understand that Bernie's a wonderful person. You can't print enough money for what Bernie wants to do. There's not enough paper. And I've told him that. I love him, but I just
Sir,
said...
this is really just about representing West
I
Virginia.
understand that, man.
And that's all I'm asking.
But I've got to use the best intelligence I have to do that. If I can't explain it just because of this and I can't commit, then I've said this before. If people want me to follow a line because I know better and I think I can help you better, I'm going to do that. And then if not, they can vote me out. I'm okay with that too. And I've said that. I don't mean that derogatory. That's the challenge. That's the opportunity you have. But for me to say right now, no matter who we choose, I'm going to be there, I can't do that. I can't.
Okay,
but can I hold off? I will hold off.
Okay,
I
that's
will hold
something.
off.
See, we can agree on something.
There we go. We're halfway there.
You will not, and if other superdelegates would do the same thing and not pledge prior to, you know,
I agree with you
a
on
reasonable
that.
time, then
I
we
think
wouldn't
the
have
system should be
CNN.
changed exactly what you said.
Then you wouldn't have CNN.
Absolutely.
Putting up pledged delegates.
Absolutely.
When you can't vote.
And you know what? Then Bernie might be able to, or somebody like Bernie might move a little bit to where we can all sit down and agree. Then we can maybe come to an agreement or not.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear, this isn't about Bernie, this is
I know.
about West Virginia, this is
I
about
know.
representation.
But I know a lot of people got upset. A lot of my friends on that side got upset. And I just said this. To give you an example on free education, here's the difference. We talked about this before, but I want to say this on free. Bernie says, Joe, higher education would be free. I said, Bernie, that'd be wonderful. In a perfect world,
Tuition free.
tuition free. Tuition free. In a perfect world, that would be right. I says, Bernie, the only trouble with that is my son's 40 years of age. If he knew tuition was free, he'd still be in school.
Tuition used to be free or cost like
It was-
$6
it
an
was-
hour
it
or
was
something like that.
$150 a semester.
Yeah,
It
and,
really-
and basically making things tuition
So
free.
here-
We cut it in half. They
Here's
still
what I
pay
said.
the room and board.
Right, here's what I said to Bernie. I said, Bernie, first of all, there's a lot of children who have parents who've already put money aside for them, so you don't have to give it to everybody. Next of all, there's a lot of kids that get basically Pell Grants and different help because they've got a lot of support at home. They need a little bit of help. Then we all have this very, very smart kid that has nobody at home helping them, and they're not going to go on because no one's pushing them. That child should be able to go to any college they want to, sign up for basically the Stafford loan. They get the Stafford loan. If they take a full load, they graduate on time with a full load, then it should be free. They earned it. We didn't give it to them. They've earned it. I said, Bernie, you keep giving people everything they want, you're not going to have anybody who's going to be productive. That's the difference. I guess I'm a product of my environment where he and I have different. But we're trying to work together. And well, that was a good recommendation. Who do we have? You got, okay, whoever. I'm going to let you all pick. If I pick, someone will get mad at me. I don't want to do that.
Senator, thank you for being here. We appreciate you listening to us. Given that the U.S. national security officials have testified that the Russian government did interfere with the 2016 presidential election, and given that candidate and President Donald Trump refused to allow his tax returns to remain public, giving the impression that he is hiding important information, and since you are on the Intelligence Committee, how realistic is it for us to expect that we'll have an unbiased, independent investigation with an independent counsel to investigate these two matters and get to the bottom of what could be a major security and national problem?
Jessica, next question. You just stand up. I'm sorry. Okay, let me get, that's a very good one. I am on intelligence. I wish I could tell you more than I can tell you, but let's go this way. First of all, for a fact, we know the Russians were involved more so than ever before. We've known the Russians have been involved since the 1970s, but never at this high a level of what they've been able to do. The people that they have put out the hiring, they have thousands of people hacking the United States of America in every which way possible every day. They've hacked both the Democrat and Republican Party. We knew that. Did the outcome of the election, was it changed? We don't see that whatsoever. The outcome was changed. Could they? Did they learn enough to make a difference? They're in France and Germany right now trying to change that with their propaganda and basically their hacking that they've done. We've got to stop that. And I think President Obama basically told Putin when he saw him for the last time and put the sanctions back on him, they got all upset about. Okay? We should have done it a long time ago. They've been hitting this for a long time. Now, with that being said, I don't know where the investigation, the question is, can it be credible? I would have doubts to whether the House of Representatives, after Nunes did what he did, looked like he was basically a special agent for the White House, that there could have any credibility. He has stepped aside. Adam Schiff, I know Adam Schiff, and I'm sure the Republicans will have another person that might be capable and less partisan. We'll have to see. I can only talk about the committee that I serve on. We have Richard Burr from North Carolina, the Republican chairman. We have Mark Warner, the ranking member on the Senate side. From both are good people. Both are working together. And I would tell you, as I know that committee today and what we've been able to do, and all the things that we have found out and what we're lining up and what we're able to
Voted for Scott Pruitt. This is a man who has made a career out of trying to destroy absolutely all the environmental progress
Do you think that Donald Trump's going to pick my
we have
president?
made in this country over 40 years.
Okay.
That's all. He is dedicated to dismantling the EPA. We're in a heat wave. We've been in a heat wave for 2 or 3 winters here. The glaciers are receding. Huge chunks of the Arctic are floating away. Miami is getting flooded. The only reasonable explanation for this is the amount of carbon and methane our economy is putting into the air. I want some acknowledgement from you that this is a huge, real problem. In particular, in southern West Virginia, in Mercer, in Monroe, and Summers County, we are very concerned with the Mountain Valley Pipeline.
We've been speaking.
They're going to tear up our mountaintops. They're going to come down steep slopes. They're going to cross our rivers, including blasting their way through the Greenbrier River. And that is for the purpose of a few corporations getting as much fossil fuel wealth out of West Virginia as quickly as possible, and then leaving us with the same mess that the coal industry has left southern West Virginia. So can you give me some assurance that you will do what you can to slow this mania in the present administration, and you as a senator take some responsibility for who Donald Trump appoints to FERC?
Economy to make them use what we've already perfected? They wouldn't even do that. And then I said, if you want to change to a complete carbon-free climate or society, energy society in America, we're not there yet. Your own Department of Energy says that basically you're going to be dependent on fossil way up through 2040 or longer. But it has to be done cleaner and better. And the rest of the world has no intentions. If they have it laying in their backyard, they're going to use it. If you were living in rural India today, rural India, and if you were a female with children, your job in rural India is to gather up all the manure from all the animals, to basically put it in pie shapes and let those bake in the sun and use them for fuel that you can cook off of at night and heat your home. They're going to get electricity for the first time. You think they care what's coming out of a smokestack? That's from diplomacy. That's for us making them. But they're going to use the coal that's laying in their backyard. And they're going to say, you built your country, you polluted the whole, you didn't care about the climate back in the 19th, early 20th century. And now we're trying to correct everything. And I've told other people this. If that's what you think, that's all you want today, tell me what 5 hours of the day you want your electricity to work. What 5 hours of the day do you want your refrigerator, your heat, your air, and everything else? Because that's what you're getting. Can we do better? Absolutely. I believe in wind and solar and renewables. I believe in a balance. The pipeline, from the standpoint, I'm going to be looking more into that. There's no way I agree with eminent domain unless it's for the public good. None of that should be sold to, that was brought up, none of that should be sold commercially unless it's for the public good, for eminent domain. Those things I can check on. We probably have a little different agreement and disagreement on some of this, but I don't know West Virginian that wants to burn, that wants to breathe dirty air or drink dirty water. And I have to fight that every day. I have to fight every day. When I speak, I say, oh, he don't care about the climate. I say, oh, I do. I absolutely do care about that. There's nobody loves to do more outdoors than I want to do all the time. But with that being said, there's got to be a balance between the economy and the environment. It can't be all one way or the other. Same way with mining. If you can't do it safe, don't mine. And, okay, but thank you. Who's next? Where's Jessica? Oh, right here. I'm sorry.
Recently, you voted to defund Planned Parenthood after an undercover video was released trying to entrap a staff member. You stated that until it was investigated and resolved, that you think we should not give to Planned Parenthood. Yet you voted to defund it and give the funds to other community health care clinics. Why do you think it's okay to take away funds from an organization that specializes in women's health and provides continual care? Why do you allow any choice tricksters to take away this vital service?
Okay. Good question. I've said this before, we're a product of our environment. Where I was raised and my grandparents, I'm pro-life. I think everyone in this room is pro-life. You wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't. So with that being said, we all have a different approach of basically what could be done with public dollars or how public dollars are spent.
We have different definitions of pro-life.
Well, hold on, what's that?
We have different definitions of
True, okay, yeah, we do. But I think everybody honors the sanctity of life. With that being said here, when I first went to Washington, I was first a senator, 2011, the vote came up about Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has the clinics that's strictly for women's health, preventive and protective health for women. And they have abortion. Well, I was against the abortion end of it, only for incest, rape, and life of the mother is the three exceptions I've always been for, and I think
Unfunded by federal.
I understand, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. They have a thing called basically the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment basically said no federal funds could be used to pay for abortions. Okay? I told my staff to look and find out if they could see if any money was going from into the clinic end of it and being transferred over. We couldn't find one penny. I voted to fund Planned Parenthood. And all my friends on the pro-life got very, very mad with me. Okay? But I did what I thought was right because those were the laws. I saw the video come out. I was very disturbed. There was a vote that came up. I said, I'm not going to vote basically to fund them until we see if it's proven true or false. It's been proven that it was false. I will vote to fund Planned Parenthood the same as I did the first time. Unless something comes up that I don't know about, or some horrific will come out. Well, that's who I am. I know it's tough.
Senator Manchin, it's my pleasure then to speak with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not going to take issue with anything you're doing.
That's okay.
I'm okay. We're going down, way down from where we started. But I have a problem here. About a week and a year ago, I was robbed here in this town. And I called the city police who came to my house and put one of the suspects out by saying, get out. But didn't do anything for a suspect.
Didn't arrest him or anything?
Didn't do anything. But this was about a year and a week ago. So I went from there. None of them contacted me after that. It was a large sum of money. They took the safe and the money and some other items. But the main thing was my money. From there, I went to the state police. Nobody did anything.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
From there, I went to the state police. I worked on up the line. I went to the mayor.
Well, the state police are here, the city police are here, the mayor's here.
Well, let's get some answers from them. Let's see why they didn't do anything. I haven't heard anything from any of those officers. And it was a large sum of money. I had to bring a letter from...
Is that under investigation? Everybody know if it's under investigation? Just tell me if it's under investigation. I know you can't, you don't, okay. City police doesn't know about that?
Well, they should.
We're going to find out. We will find out for you.
I had to bring a letter from my attorney saying why I had that kind of money. I went to my attorney.
Do you want to give your name? Do you mind?
Yes, my name is Gloria Smith.
Can someone check on Gloria Smith?
Come to my office on Monday and I'll take your complaint and we can see what we can do.
Okay, it's up to you.
Prosecute.
She's the prosecutor. We got a prosecutor. We got a boss here, boy. That's democracy right there. That's an action. That's what I like. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Hi, Senator Manchin, Linda Ball from Lewisburg.
Hey, let me say one thing. What you're doing there is great. If people that want to talk, if you want to just line up right by the door, right there with the lady in red, are you talking? See Mara right here? Line up, Mara, up. Go by the door, Mara, so nobody falls through. We'll go back and forth. We're going to go back, and the same over here, so we'll go back and forth, one at a time. That's good. Linda, go ahead.
So, Senator, I hear a common thread over some of the concerns and issues here. One and it's all stemming from corporate America, corporations. There's Big Pharma feeding the pills into Kermit, West Virginia. Based on that population, you have the eminent domain thing, the environmental stuff. Who's going to profit? So here is what I want to say. My My comment today is about dark money, Citizens United,
Oh,
and your
boy.
vote, for Neil Gorsuch. Now, I do understand completely your rationale on President Trump's nominees, his appointments to his
I have
cabinet.
a different rationale on this.
But Supreme Court is very different, and he's 49 years old, Judge Gorsuch, and he's going to be with us for life now. And his record does show he, more often than not, sides on big corporations versus the American citizen. I'm so concerned. I feel like we don't have a chance in hell as an American citizen today to come up against the big money of corporate America thanks to Citizens United. We had a lovely young man step up to the plate and oppose Evan Jenkins. We didn't have a chance. We didn't have that kind of money. And I want to quote Senator Dianne Feinstein, who recently came on. She said, this is about Neil Gorsuch, Senator Feinstein participated in the nomination process of 6 Supreme Court nominees. She never saw quite the dark money that she saw poured into Judge Neil Gorsuch, and she expressed grave concern over that. $10 million was spent, only $1 million accounted for, and that was from the NRA, which is understandable. The other $9 million, totally unaccountable. We don't know where it came from, who was behind it. The other thing was $7 million was spent during President Obama's last year to sully and taint Merrick Garland as a nominee. So I am beyond disappointed that you supported, even if he's a fine person, him, because it seems to me it has sealed the deal that we're going to keep Citizens United with no chance of overturning it now, with 5 conservatives versus 4 at the Supreme Court. And I don't know how to counter that. How do we make a change over?
Let me go ahead. If you keep your answers as quick as I can, I'll give you an answer quick. The whole thing about this and that, and how you get these people and this and that. First of all, our job as a U.S. Senator is advise and consent. Advise and consent means whoever you put up, you make a recommendation. What the Republicans did to Merrick Garland was not only shameful, it was sinful. They didn't even give him... I was outraged. I had never been so embarrassed to say I was a member of the U.S. Senate that basically they wouldn't even sit down and have a decent conversation with the man. I said, you can vote against him, but he should get a vote. He should get a vote. That didn't happen. So now all my Democrat friends said, we're just going to do the same. Well, I said, whoa, wait a minute. If you want 3 branches of government to work, you want the judicial branch, you can't operate the Supreme Court with 4 and 4. You know, the rule of law makes us different than any place in the world. So I wanted to make sure. I said, fine. So advise and consent. Neil Gorsuch comes up. 10 years ago, he was unanimously, the same Dianne Feinstein voted for him. Okay? They all voted for him. I couldn't find a reason that man wasn't qualified at least to get a vote. I could not. Let me tell you what we look at for a Supreme Court. It goes a little bit more. We look at their criminal records, any spousal abuse. We look at DUI, even if it's misdemeanors. We look at everything to find out what type of a person this has been. We didn't find anything. Nothing. And Merrick Garland was the same way. They had no reason not to let that man at least have a vote. So I couldn't do that. I just couldn't. I mean, that's not, and they're telling me, how do you think Antonin Scalia got on? Democrats voted for him, at least voted for cloture and let him have a vote, but we're so toxic now. We think, and the people think, that we as Democrats should be picking and choosing on, you know, I can tell you, when I was governor, I put a lot of robes on judges. And not one of them ever, I couldn't predict what one of them would do and how they would do it. So I'm hoping this man comes from good stock. He is an honorable person. He's a decent person, more conservative than most of us, but still a good person. Will he make good decisions? Now here's what I told. I told Chuck Schumer and all my Democrat colleagues, don't pull the nuclear option. At least let him have a vote. You want to vote against him? Fine. He's going to get in anyway. Save your powder for the next one, because that's going to change the balance of the court. Now what we did is set ourselves up to have no input on the balance of the court. I just think it was a bad move on the Democrat side what they did. They disagreed with me. I went ahead and voted my conscience because I can explain it to you. You might not agree, but I can explain it. The next judge will change the balance of power in the United States Supreme Court. This one did not. This one basically took the place of Antonin Scalia, who was a good man, but a very conservative man. So you replaced him with him. That's what you did. And people, that's just the way It's a tough system. But I thought we had a chance to fight for another day. We should have kept our options open for that next fight, because that's going to be the most important one. Okay, who do we have? Which side are we on? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. The U.S. Geological Survey has identified Greenbrier County and Monroe County as the two most susceptible counties in West Virginia to potential groundwater contamination. The Monroe County Commission has gotten a proposal from the U.S. Geological Survey to do a 3-year study to work up a water budget for the county, so you know what we have, susceptible spots, the spots are suitable for development. And so I guess what I'm asking you is that you, in all your budget stuff, make sure that the U.S. Geological Survey keeps their funding, and that way the West Virginia Department of Health, who is also a 1/3 partner in this proposal, gets their funding to also do that type of stuff, and that any help that you could give the Monroe County Commission, we're looking at small dollars here in relation to what you guys are spending.
I got you.
We're looking at...
I'm on appropriations, and Shelley's on appropriations with me. We're the only two senators that come from the same state to sit on this powerful committee. So we've got some input, and we work well together, so I can get with her to make sure this is a high priority.
And I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
Please do. Please. I hope this has been helpful a little bit to everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Senator Manchin. I appreciate that you want to help President Trump be the best president he can be, but I think we've reached that bar.
We're always trying to improve.
So what I want to ask is, what can we do and what can you in the Senate do to minimize the devaluation of over 50% of the population of the United States, and that's women?
Well, I believe in equal pay, equal rights, everything equal for women.
The Equal Rights Amendment, actually, Nevada just passed it, and if Congress supports resetting the clock, all we need is 2 more states and it will pass. And there's already legislation in both the Senate and the House of Representatives to do just that. Would you support it?
I haven't seen it. I sure sound like it. I never not approved anything or supported anything that would be for equal rights.
Great.
So do you think about Lily Ledbetter as for equal pay, for equal work?
Yes.
All those things. Yeah, we've been for all of that.
Okay.
I'm very much supportive of that.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator, we have some questions from the Three Rivers group who organized the event.
Okay, here we go.
The front court, okay.
Here we go, right there.
I have a question about Syria. President Trump.
That's a tough one.
Bombed Syria
Yeah.
recently. And I was just wondering your opinion if he wants to do something else there militarily. Do you think he needs to come before Congress and get authorization?
Very good question. Okay. The question is this.
And would you vote for it?
Okay. Here's the question. The question is basically, does the President of the United States, should he get authorization, they call it AUMF, authorization to use military force to go any further or do any more in Syria? Let's see how we got to where we are with Syria right now. Back in 2012, 2013, you've heard John McCain raising Cain about we should do more, should get Assad out, should basically support the rebels, try to find the good guys and the bad guys. We had a hard time identifying who was the good and the bad. The only thing I knew is that whoever we supported over there and whatever we gave them, they end up using it against us sooner or later. So that was a tough situation. So everybody was a little bit not in agreement and kind of cautious in all these things. So with what happened, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, says, I'm drawing a line in the sand. If you use chemical weapons on your people, or in this war any way, shape, or form, we're going to throw a missile attack on you. The only question I asked in armed services was, are we going to take out Assad? We took out Gaddafi. We took out Saddam Hussein. That hasn't worked out that good unless you have a replacement plan and somebody you know you can work with. So they says, no, we're not going to take out Assad, okay? So it's not going to be a regime change. Are you going to send 70 to 80,000 American troops in to secure all the chemical weapons that we can go through the country? No, we're not going to put any boots on the ground. So I says, how are we going to know if they're out? We're talking back and forth. Then the president decided to get an AUMF to drop the missiles. Before we voted on the AUMF, The Russians stepped in diplomatically, and they said, and the Americans, John Kerry starts working with them, saying, okay, we'll work with you, and you assure us you're taking all the chemical weapons out. That was supposed to be done. Well, we know they didn't do it. We know the Russians didn't do what they said they were going to do. We know the Syrians didn't get rid of it. I approve what the president has done. Just done. Because he did it strategically. We struck 59 targets. We hit all 59 targets. We didn't miss a one. We didn't hit basically the chemical that they had stored on that base, because it would have killed thousands and thousands of people. That plume would have killed a lot of people. We didn't do that one. We hit everything strategically that delivered those weapons. Didn't take out the airfield because there was no need. They can fix an airfield fairly quick. So we sent a signal. We sent it also with the president of China sitting beside him that we got a bigger problem with North Korea. Sent a signal to him. Now for the president to go any further, absolutely he has to have an AUMF, and I would vote for it or against it depending on if it has, wait till we get in, how are we going in, do we learn from the past of what we did in Iraq, and how are we going to get out? We don't have any problem going to war. We have a problem getting out of war. And we're still operating off the 2002 AUMF, or 2001, that we gave George W. Bush unilateral powers to go declare war anywhere. We've got to reel that in now, because it's got to be strategic what we're doing and how we do it. So, good question. I would not vote unless there was an exit plan, unless I thought in putting as few people as possible in harm's way. When you have to vote, you're sending sons and daughters and neighbors into war knowing they might not return. That's a tough vote. They better be sure what they're doing before they ask for my vote. Make sure there's a plan that minimizes all of our damages and collateral damage that we do. But the Americans are, I will say this, I know enough about, we are very compassionate about collateral damage. That means that we kill innocent people. There's a price to war that's I don't know what, in that part of the world, I don't know how we stop it. I really don't. I don't know if there's someone to replace Assad with. I would hope. This man now is vehemently denying that he had, I think he's lying. I think the Russians are lying. I think they all had to know. And I think what we did, fine, but we know you're lying and we're not going to accept it. Where do we go from here? I'll probably find out in 2 weeks. But I'm very concerned. Where do we have? I'm sorry.
Yes. Debbie McNair. I've lived in West Virginia for 20 years, and I've been a registered Democrat for more than 10 of those years. I was an independent voter before that. So I guess that makes me a West Virginia Democrat. I've heard you refer to yourself as a West Virginia Democrat in speeches and on camera for years. And I don't expect to agree with Democratic lawmakers on every issue, but I do expect them to uphold the party platform and to separate their personal beliefs from their political votes. Vice President Biden did a really good job of that. You're the top of our ticket here in West Virginia. You're the top. Our remaining Democrats are just two, the governor and the treasurer. I want to know how you define West Virginia Democrat, and if that definition has had anything to do with the massive losses the Democratic Party has experienced since you went to Washington. You did a great job as a governor. I really respected you as a governor. I'm so disappointed with the Democratic Party in West Virginia since you left. And you are the top of the ticket. How can you help us?
Well, the governor is usually the top of the ticket. If it's a Republican governor, that's the leader of the Republican Party. If it's a Democrat governor, that's the leader of the Democratic Party. That's the way it's always been. So I have been reluctant to jump in front of Governor Tomlin, in front of Governor Justice. That's the leader of the Democratic Party. I'll help any way I can. I think my best way to describe me, I'm fiscally responsible, socially compassionate. I want to make sure I don't promise you something I can't pay for. And I want to make sure that I'm compassionate enough to help you whenever you get in trouble. But I expect you to get up and help yourself too. I'm not going to do it all for you. When I was governor, man, everybody was mad the first 2 years I was governor. And they come to me and says, we want this and we want this and we want. I said, what are you going to do for yourself? They look at me and they said, well, you're the governor, you're supposed to. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not spending the taxpayers' money when you won't even help yourself. You won't even determine what your highest priority is. You won't get people off their butt and do something. Now that's a West Virginia Democrat. I'm a product of my environment. I have the compassion to help anybody and everybody. I'll take care of those who can't take care of themselves. But I need everybody pulling this rope. So we were able to get people working together. And that's really who I am. This swing that you're saying, what's happened, Citizens United has destroyed this country. It's destroying this country. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're a Democrat or Republican, it is destroying because it's not it's take care of the children. And they hide behind that. And basically that decision came out. And I have said this, if I can wave my wand and say, okay, all the labor, the working people, all the labor, and all the business people, let's sit down together and write the new rules of how we're going to be involved in the political process, how much money, what our limits are going to be, and you all adhere to it. Before, businesses always thought, corporations thought that labor, especially organized labor, had the upper hand. They could take out union dues, they could have PACs, they had basically advantages to get more of the Democrats elected, okay? Or the people that were more progressive towards their point of view. They went the other way. And the other way they went, there's no way we can compete with the corporate money. You can't compete. Someone's got to call a truce here and say, listen, this is not good for America. We're not getting good representation. And what the Republicans have been so really good at, articulating, going state by state by state, changing the legislature, changing the government. They're getting ready for 2020. I've said this, you want to change America, do two things. Two things will change the country, and I'll stop and I'll go right to Jane. Two things would change the country. First of all, make it an ethical violation. We should make an ethical violation that not one of us in the Senate or Congress can go out and campaign against each other. How would you love to go to work every day knowing that the person on the other side, who might be your friend, but's raising money against you, that'll go out and campaign against you, and anyone on Monday, hey Joe, can we work together on this? I don't know, you've been out campaigning, you came to West Virginia trying to beat me, you raised $1 million against me, I don't know if we can work together or not. That's just human nature. That shouldn't be done. Second thing, the 2020 basically censuses are coming up. 2022 redistricting is going to happen for 435 districts. They should all be computer driven. It shouldn't be two politicians sitting down drawing lines. It should be computer driven. That will change America.
Just a minute, please. Our time's running short, and we're conflicting here with our noisemakers. We have time for about 2 or 3 more questions, and for those of you who do not have an opportunity to ask a question, the senator's staff will be handing out cards for which you can write your question and your email, and you will receive an answer. And now I'm going to turn it over for 3 more questions, 2 from our group and another from our group. Our group's going to ask the questions now. Thank you.
That's what I call being in charge.
Senator, I'm so proud to be a member of the Three Rivers Democratic Women, and let's give them all a big hand for the delicious cookies. But thank you for coming here today, and I want to ask a two-part question. One is, this is the 50th anniversary of what has inarguably been the most successful government program, the Children's Health Insurance Program. CHIPS. 50 years this year. West Virginia is number 3 in the nation of children insured through this program that Senator Rockefeller was instrumental in and that you've been supportive of. Can you please make sure in Washington that you fight for a clean resolution to support CHIPS again?
Absolutely. Let me say this about, absolutely. Let me say something about Terry. Terry's best friend in life, Sylvia Matthew Burwell. Sylvia Burwell Matthew. Sylvia Matthew Burwell. Sylvia is a product of this little town. I'm not saying it because I'm wanting to patronize anybody. Sylvia's a dear friend of mine. But I don't know if you all could be any prouder of a human being the way they represent their country and their state than what Sylvia has done. She has the respect, Democrats and all the Republicans. There's not a Republican that I've ever heard say a bad word about Sylvia. Not one. Not one ever says she's not capable. Yeah. She's not qualified. She's not educated well enough. No one's ever said one derogatory thing. And she has that West Virginia, Hinton, Summers County way about her. Am I right? She has a way to sit down and pull you right in and tell you she might not agree, but she thinks there might be another way you should look at something. That's the way, maybe that's who we are. That's just our West Virginia way. We understand each other very well, but Terry, I know they've been so close, and this has been what Sylvia has done, the compassion she's put into all this. She knows this health care. She knows where the problems are. And if they would just let us sit down, Sylvia, Democrats, Republicans, people who have knowledge in this, and work it. Take the politics out of it and fix it.
Okay.
So I'm for chips. I'm for chips.
There you go. The second part of my question is this. You saw how many people in this room raised their hands for pre-existing conditions. So I am, unfortunately, a pre-existing condition.
Correct.
From January. I'm a new pre-existing condition. So I'm certainly concerned about it. But my question is this. From both an economic standpoint for our state and for kind of a healthcare one, what is your opinion on medical marijuana?
Well, medical marijuana has just been passed in West Virginia. I'm ignorant. Let me just say something. I'm the most ignorant person on marijuana or drugs. I'm not saying that for no other reason. I started working in my parents' and grandparents' store. I started playing ball. So there was reasons I got married young, had family. I never got involved. Just never saw it, never got involved. I know nothing about it. So people coming up to me, I said, listen, I'm willing to learn. I think medical marijuana has an awful lot of opportunities that can help people. So we're learning. They passed it. We're going to see where it goes. I've got people coming to me and say we should legalize commercial hemp. Hemp growing could be another industry for us. I'm going to learn about it. What I haven't been able to accept, and I'll tell you my reasons why. Recreational marijuana, like Colorado has done across the board, I cannot support that. My reason for saying I don't support, because I talk to too many people who are addicted. I know there's going to be people in the room that disagree with this, but I'm talking to people that become addicted. They become addicted to drugs, and they basically have said that they started on recreational marijuana. I know you disagree. I know it, but I'm telling you, go to the clinics with me. I'll bring Matt Boggs. I'll bring all of these addiction centers to you. That's the majority of what they tell me. So I only go by what I know from the people that say they've been addicted and they're trying to get clean. So with that being said, that's where I am on that issue. But there's still many states that still have it, so I guess there's a place to get it if you want it.
Excuse me
But
again.
okay, on medical marijuana, I think it has some promise. I think we're going down that path. I think it's, I'm learning, but it's a law in West Virginia. Did the governor sign it? I think he might. I don't know. Have you heard any? Is he going to sign it? It's a very limited bill, but it's a start. Okay. I just don't know enough to be intelligent enough about it, to be honest with you. I'm sure you all can help me on all this. I need help. Okay.
If you have a question that I'm not going to bring you the microphone for, please raise your hand and Mara will get you a paper to write your question and your email.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patty Crawford. I live here in Hinton. I work at the medical school in Lewisburg where your brother was a graduate. But what's really concerning me right here in Hinton is we are at risk of losing our hospital. All across America, there are small rural towns whose hospitals are in danger of closing. Now, you talked about you want to make sure President Trump is a team. So I'm going to ask you 3 specific questions about health care. First one is Medicaid. Secretary Price wants to make it be per capita or block grant. So where do you stand on that?
Can't do it. You do it per capita or block grant. You're doing it based on age population, not income population. We get hurt unmercifully. Against it.
Thank you. Fight for that, please.
Don't worry. We have.
Okay, the second thing is the marketplace. Why is rural America penalized more than urban America on purchasing health insurance? When the ACA started, we were supposed to have a choice. Now, many rural communities only have one insurer, and we're paying per policy $150 more than urban.
This is the whole thing to fight. We have no choice whatsoever because we have nobody that's participating and competing. We only have one, as far as an exchange, only one.
Right.
And they wanted to leave. I had to go talk to Highmark. They were going to leave. I said, we got nobody. You can't leave. So we had to redo that whole contract we have with them. It's a horrible situation. That's why we know it needs to be fixed. We know the system needs to be fixed.
And you need to fight those insurance companies and to make sure they insure rural America.
Well, let me just say about the hospitals. If the Affordable Care Act is repealed as you know it today, good, bad, or indifferent, we're going to lose mostly rural health care in America, not just West Virginia, because that's where most of the money has gone and been able to help keep these open and viable. They won't be able to stay.
And the third thing is Medicare. Many of the Republicans consider Medicare and Social Security an entitlement. Are you going to fight for Medicare?
We're fighting totally against it. That's why I voted against Tom Price and Mick Mulvaney. The bottom line is they want to privatize it. I said, listen, at 70, 75, 80 years of age, you can't throw me in the marketplace and make my best deal with somebody that's doing it for the profit line of it. I can't do it. So if I've paid into Social Security, I said, take the caps off of income. Let people keep paying the tax all the way up. All these things should be done. There's ways to fix it. I said, the other thing on total disability, we got 35, 40, 45-year-old people getting total disability that we never recheck them again. They keep it forever. They might be able to go back in the workplace. There's some common sense stuff that can be done that can basically make it much more efficient. But I am totally opposed to privatizing it, taking it to the private sector in the marketplace because it won't work. It just doesn't. So I'm totally opposed to that.
Thank you, and keep fighting for rural America.
We're all rural in West Virginia. It's all rural.
One more question.
Thank you. Public option on healthcare. It was taken out of the ACA by Max Baucus.
I swear.
She's
asking about public option.
Public option would have been another option for people to purchase insurance.
Oh, well, the whole thing that I wasn't there in 2009 when they passed the Affordable Care Act, but it was done because they wanted to get the masses of the people in. If you're going to take care of pre-existing, take care of this, and this, they had to get the healthy. Well, guess what? The 26-year-olds never bought it. So if you give option out, if they could option to something different, that would have hurt them more, I guess, to bring everybody in. Okay, we'll get to the crux of that later.
Last question.
Last question. Here we go.
Hi, Senator Manchin. My question is, we know Donald Trump is a billionaire. He's got billions. He's told us that
He tells us that all the time.
all the time. Do you honestly trust this man? I turn my TV on because I just see his mouth moving along with that Sean Spicer. I just see their mouth moving. I'm not going to be disrespectful of that, of the president, because he is my president, and that's what I have always said. He is our president, and we will treat him as such. But I don't have to watch him. I don't have to watch him. But do you trust this man in his decision-making or Ivanka's decision-making?
Well, let me just say this. Some of the people that he has some good people around him now that I know of. General Mattis is a good man. General Kelly is a good man. McMaster's a good guy. He's listened to them because his strategic thing that he did with Syria, trust me, that did not come out of the political White House. That came out of the strategists that understand the military complications of what we're getting in. So he did listen there. I'm hoping he does. There's a thing called fact check. He hasn't done too well in the fact check category. Okay. So with that being said, here's the thing I would say. I've tried to evaluate anybody and everybody that I'm supposed to work with. So I've said this. Whoever they send me from Missouri or California, I'm going to do my best to get along with them. I'm going to try to understand them, try to find out what they're about, and figure them out. Okay? A person like Mr. Trump comes along. Here's a person never been in the political arena, who basically has never run a public company or had to answer to a board of directors or stockholders. It's only been private. He made every decision he could. So his mindset is something different than what people that have come through this public sector. I've been through a little bit of both. I understand the give and take. I think the sooner he understands you can't be CEO of America but you're basically the third branch of government, the executive branch, that we all have to work together. I think the better it'll be for him. Ivanka Trump, he has Ivanka, his daughter, who's a very accomplished young woman. Jared Kushner is a very, very accomplished young man. People are going to argue back and forth. It's who he trusts. Those are the people he trusts. The one question was asked, I forget by who, about it was about his tax returns. I believe that everyone has done that, but it's not the law. I believe it should be done. If the investigations take to where that'll be done, that'll be revealed. Right now it hasn't gone there, but we're going to find out. So, you know, just because you're president, you're not subjective to different rules. You might think you are, but you're not. And I think hopefully he's learning that. Maybe he'll be able to morph into it a little bit more. Easier to accept. The fact checks might be more accurate than they are right now. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Okay.
Just like all politicians, I've just misled you.
No offense.
We have one more question. This will be question number 4.
I want you to know I'm not in control of this.
That's in general, and we all know that to be true.
And this is a quick question with a yes or no answer, so.
Yeah, right.
Here in Hinton, we are the...
I think he knows you for some reason.
We are the gateway community to the New River Gorge National River, and we are also home to the Bluestone National Scenic River. President Trump has indicated that he would like to divest of some of the public federal lands. Can you commit right now to standing behind our public federal lands and keeping them in the hands of the public?
Almost certainly. And you know what? Yeah. And I'm hoping the new man, the new Secretary Zinke, will do the same. No, he's very much committed to public land, so I think we're all. And in the old form of Teddy Roosevelt, you know, leave it for the next generation. Let me just say this, you all have been very kind. It helps me an awful lot. I think that basically this is what it's all about. We agree, disagree. I hope that basically I've been able, what I don't agree with or you don't agree with me, what we don't understand or I don't understand, I try to learn. My door's always open. I said if you can't change your mind, you can't change anything. I'm always willing to change my mind. And I've always said this, you're entitled to your own opinion. Everybody here, you're just not entitled to your own facts. I'm not entitled to my own facts. The facts are what they are. Now, if someone can show me the facts that I'm making decisions on are wrong, I'll guarantee you I'll change. I'll guarantee you I'll change. Thank all of you. Thank you. God bless. Thank the Democratic women for having us here. Thank you, Jane.
One more announcement, please. If you have cards ready with questions,